Today, we're exploring how profound isolation doesn't just, bring your mood down for a day or two, but actually alters your biology and fundamentally reshapes your very sense of self. A lot of times we think of loneliness as just a fleeting wave of sadness, right? But the reality is so much deeper than that. We're going to unpack how being deeply isolated actually rewires who you are, literally from the inside out. It's a pretty wild realization that loneliness isn't just a math problem about how many people are physically around you. I mean, you can be standing in a packed room, have a family, be in a long-term relationship, and still feel this profound, crushing internal isolation. It reigns inside you while everyone else around you just sees the sun.
It's like this invisible, visceral barrier that creates your own personal climate, keeping you completely isolated even in the most crowded, loudest spaces. You basically become an island of freezing weather right in the middle of a warm, sunny street. It's a geography no one else can visit, acting as a wall that shuts the whole world out while simultaneously trapping you entirely inside your own head.
So, moving into part one, the erasure of identity, fading away in plain sight. Because here's the thing, this level of isolation doesn't just make you sad, it literally makes you fade. There is a really stark difference between physical absence and the quiet, creeping erasure of your own internal identity. Think about it. Physical absence is obvious. An empty chair? That's loud. People notice. But a fading reflection? That happens when you stop fighting to be visible. You just slowly erase yourself, and you do it so quietly that even you don't hear it happening. When you've practiced being invisible for that long, you eventually leave behind nothing but an outline. You kind of become a ghost in your own life. You stop existing as a full, vibrant person and just become a routine. Sure, you're functioning perfectly on the outside. You're paying the bills, showing up to work, but inside, you're completely untethered, floating through days that just feel like endless, empty corridors. The really crucial takeaway here is that self-abandonment doesn't happen overnight. It is a slow crime with absolutely no witnesses. You slowly shave off your own edges just to fit into spaces that were never actually designed for you. You swallow your needs, you fold yourself up into smaller and smaller shapes just to keep the peace. And eventually, well, you wake up standing in your own life like a total stranger in someone else's house, completely empty-handed. This isn't a new phenomenon either. History's greatest minds have wrestled with this exact emotional unraveling. Albert Camus actually hit the nail on the head when he wrote about how dreadful the weight of days can be for someone who is truly alone. It's a bone-deep exhaustion in your very architecture, this incredible heaviness, like your body is constantly carrying around a question that it's never allowed to ask. Which brings us to part two, the biology of isolation, when feelings become physiology. Let's pivot for a second and look at the hard science of what this quiet despair is actually doing to your nervous system. Because make no mistake, the body keeps a very detailed ledger that the mind sometimes refuses to read. It is absolutely wild to realize that chronic loneliness is read by your body as a constant, immediate survival threat. It keeps your sympathetic nervous system completely locked in the on position. Your brain treats isolation like there is a literal predator in the room with you. And this isn't just all in your head. This chronic stress actively diverts vital resources away from things like digestion. Your body assumes it's in grave danger, which spikes inflammation and actually starts dismantling your internal ecosystems. It's fascinating to compare the psychological feeling of numbness to its physical twin. Emotionally, you're just performing aliveness, right? You smile when you're supposed to, you nod in rhythm with a conversation, but your biological reality, your cortisol is spiking off the charts. Your gut lining is becoming more permeable, and your microbial diversity is literally plummeting. That numbness you feel is just your body's absolute last-ditch negotiation with suffering. It's turning the volume down because it physically cannot carry the load anymore. And here is a mind-blowing fact. 90% of your body's serotonin, the crucial molecule responsible for your mood and clarity, is manufactured in your gut, not your brain. We genuinely cannot separate the mind from the body. The intense mental fog and heavy despair of isolation, those are being signaled directly from your gut, straight up to your brain along the vagus nerve. Stagnation in your body literally becomes stagnation in your mind. Okay, part three, the hunger to be seen, the ache for genuine recognition. Let's transition from our internal biology back over to our emotional needs and focus on the deeply human desire at the core of all this and what it actually takes to break the cycle.
There is a deep, profound starvation that happens when we are completely familiar to the people around us, but entirely unrecognized. You don't necessarily even want to be admired or desperately needed. Most of the time, you just want someone to look at you, to really look at you, and recognize the immense weight you've been carrying without you having to say a single word.
Dostoevsky captured the absolute highest stakes of this isolation when he asked, "What is hell?" The terrifying endpoint of all this isn't just feeling sad. It's the point where the emotional and biological numbness entirely prevents us from connecting at all. It's the sheer hell of being so flattened by your own internal weather that even when someone throws their arms around you, they can't actually reach the part of you that's breaking.
So let's look at part 4, the slow return, finding our way back to the self. How do we actually begin this messy, completely nonlinear journey of healing? How do we finally step out of the fog and come back to who we are? Well, healing actually has to start at the physical level. By engaging in deliberate, structured rest, things like immersing yourself in a warm bath or taking a long walk in a forest, which the Japanese call Shinrin-yoku, we can biologically force our nervous system to drop its armor. These simple practices gently stimulate the vagus nerve. They fire up the rest and digest parasympathetic system, and they actively lower our cortisol levels. Basically, you have to convincingly signal to your body that it is finally safe. Now, on an emotional level, healing is definitely not a sudden overnight fix. Sometimes it's just doing absurdly normal things, like watering a houseplant, just so your hands find something to hold other than grief. It's catching yourself mid-laugh and realizing you didn't check first to see if you were allowed to be happy. It is making the choice to walk forward, even if you know you're going to walk with a limp. Because honestly, choosing softness after everything you've been through, that is absolutely the bravest thing you can do. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought as we wrap up the explainer today. Take a real moment to honestly examine how you are showing up in your own life right now. Are you speaking your truth clearly, or are you just performing aliveness, secretly hoping someone will listen closely enough to hear the tremor, the longing, that quiet please hidden right underneath your words? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Use this knowledge to start finding your way back.